Hello everyone, and welcome back to my channel. Guys, gals, theys, and gays, to another video. It's been about 3 months since my last handbag rotation, and if any of y'all are interested in seeing that, I will do my best to leave it linked down below. I like to rotate my handbags. I find that my handbags, while also being an extension of practicality in my life, they're also just an extension of my personality and my style. I've always been a bag person, and I've decided to make that everybody's problem and use my channel as an outlet to talk about said handbags. It's been a good couple of months. We've had some highs, we've had some lows, which I think is honestly a good thing for me to look at my vast collection of handbags and to really evaluate which ones are deserving of real estate in my life. For a large amount of my bag collecting, there was an emphasis of collecting to have rather than collecting to use, and not necessarily taking into consideration practicality, longevity, quality, lifestyle. But as I am now more me than I ever have been in my 35 years on this planet, it's been real good for me to look at things with a more realistic eye. And so I've got quite a few here that I'm pretty excited for. Last rotation was just kind of a bags that I've been using, whereas this one, I actually went into it pooling a couple specific bags that I know that I wanted to try as an everyday bag. I have a very normal, very boring 9 to 5, 3 to 11. I work managerial front desk at a hotel, so I'm not really running anywhere fancy. And as y'all know, and if you don't know, you know now, I am not easy on my bags. And so without further ado, I love hearing myself talk. So let's just get into it and give you some rundowns on the handbags that I've been rotating through the past couple of months. We are going to start out strong with one of the first bags that I pulled in specifically for this rotation. I was like, all right, this is going to be a thing. This is something I want to do. I want to use this one. This is a true vintage Vivienne Westwood Yasmin bag. So this is from the 90s. I briefly touched on this in my Vivienne Westwood handbag collection video. Haven't seen, interested, we'll leave down below. I will admit that purchasing of a fair amount of my Vivienne Westwood handbags were sort of done in a to have and to collect and to possess as fashion items. However, moving forward, I have wanted to test their practicality and just overall use. I also have a little bit of weary, a little bit of leery of using such a older vintage item, but I'm like, you spent the money, use it. What's the point in like having it if you're not going to cart it around? Like I said in that video, Vivienne Westwood was a very big advocate for love what you love, wear what you love, wear it repeatedly. So it isn't very punk of me to not be using this thing. And I will be honest, I was very pleased with how this is mostly, I don't know if this is jacquard, it's not canvas. If anyone has any idea what kind of fabric this is that's used for this, I don't even know if there's a fancy word or if I'm just trying to justify it in my brain. But it's got the pebbled leather here, and on the straps it does have rolled handles looking like that. And for this bag being as old as it is and for as hard as I am on my bags, I was thoroughly impressed with how I started. I was just like, just a little, mustn't swing it around too much, mustn't overstuff it. And then by the end, the thing was definitely overstuffed because there is no other way that I know how to carry a handbag. I will say that I don't find this to be an exceptionally intuitive design. It opens like this in sort of a domed, partially bowler bag. And then it has on the side here, so rather than this whole thing being open, it does have these bits here that catch. And so when going in, I just found it was a little bit annoying going in, not having that whole area accessible and just kind of like, although it was all filled, on the bottom, I didn't have that same kind of access, kind of top to bottom. I don't know if that's just me, if I'm just anal, annoying, and obnoxious. However, for as much monies that I paid for this and for how old it is, I am thoroughly 110% pleased with how it performed in my day-to-day. And moving forward, I'm very excited to have this on my roster of not only is this like a pinnacle of fashion to me and myself, it is also a practical application of said fashion. Next on the docket for bags that I knew I had in my collection that I was like, you don't use this, you don't carry it, you need to pull it out. You need to utilize it. You need to come to terms with your relationship with it, which is this Fendi, I believe, baby spy bag. The first actual Fendi spy bag that I bought was a fake, so lesson learned there. It was a painful, expensive lesson, but in the world of purchasing designer handbags secondhand, it's a lesson that needed to be learned. And I just had it. And it's beautiful. It's amazing. It's a fantastic piece of iconic cultural fashion. It has so many lovely details. I love this. Just all the little teeny weeny lovely details. And let me tell you, going into this, carrying this bag, no idea I was going to love it nearly as much as I did. It got to the point where I was like, you need to put this down. You need to use something else. We've established that this is a go. I love how big, wide, and open this is, and it just sits so nice. It holds a lot of shit up in here, and I just toss it onto my passenger side. I have it open, hanging like that. I got access to all my things. This zipper is beautiful, amazing, works fantastic. It looks a little small. It looks a little unassuming. I love it on the elbow. I love it by the hand. A little, definitely not a shoulder bag. This one makes me feel high fashion while also executing a wonderful level of practicality, and has really showcased to me a style of bag that I got it, and I got it because I love it. It's beautiful. It's pretty. But as I stated before, I liked having Hallmark fashion bags to have them and to be like, I'm a fashion related person. I have these it bags. Can I help you? But I was absolutely elated, not just with I cannot tell you how much I just absolutely loved how much stuff it carried, how it all laid in there. It's got the nice Fendi print on the inside, and also just the quality of how well this bag has held up and how much I've put it through just via me being the who knows what owner, and falling in love with this shape and kind of size tells me that I feel like I would do well with getting a Alexander Wang Rocky, which I have briefly discussed on a handbag wish list video. However, owning this and having this also tells me that I don't need a Alexander Wang Rocky because I already have one in the shape and the size and sort of that structure that I like that I have. In the future, I might maybe possibly potentially consider getting another one of these, although I don't know if I got mine before like a popularity strike, because I know the 2010s are absolutely roaring back into style, but when I got mine, it was probably around $350. And now I couldn't find for much less than like, you start at around $600. So honestly, pretty pleased, pretty happy about that. But this one was simply a true delight to pull out and use and utterly and absolutely completely fall in love with. I was thoroughly impressed with just how well it handled as a day-to-day bag. And another high point of this particular rotation is this Coach Hampton Legacy hobo? Not entirely sure. I will do my best to find that out and leave that down below. I do know how now. I finally taught myself how to read and identify Coach handbags, so I will look up the model number and see if I can't leave that down below for you all. But this right here, shape, size, structure, little details, gorgeous glove tanned leather, flat, sturdy bottom, beautiful thick strap, simple buckle hardware, pocket there, just I will say it over and over and over and over again until I'm blue in the face. I adore vintage Coach, specifically 2006 on back. And that is due in part to the quality as well as just a lot of the fantastic subtlety of the designs. I really like it when a bag's design and structure for the craftsmanship and design to really speak for itself. And this is a perfect example of what does it for me with vintage Coach on so many levels. It fits perfectly. Like, this is the standard at which I'm like, this is the size, this is the structure. I like the handbag, the shoulder bag. This, like the baby spy bag, was another one where I had to tell myself, okay, you've enjoyed it, you've thoroughly enjoyed it, you've taken pictures for Instagram, you need to rotate and work on something else. I have one that's a size smaller, and then I have one in a really deep red burgundy. I would love to find this in this size in a brown, this is like a very traditional camel color. I do have one on my Mercari love lists that's green, but it's a small size. And I'm like, I don't know if I want to spend that much money because it's green, but it's small. If it were this size, that would be perfect because it checks off all those boxes of style, function, practicality, quality. A truly shining example of why vintage Coach is so high up there for me. So long as I do my research and know what I like and look for in a handbag, it has rarely done me wrong. And this just so much happiness in a handbag, just everything I could possibly want it to be. And vintage Coach is definitely one of my most frequently rotated because I just have a fair amount. And again, when it comes to my handbags and even working on wearing and using the other bags in my vast collection, I find myself really reaching for what I know and love, which is Coach. Like this, if I could get this in this, I'd lose my goddamn mind. But this, just a beautiful, simple, again, shining example. Nice, thick, sturdy bottom, thick, sturdy glove tanned leather. It's got the pocket there, the nice simple buckle. I am a slut for buckle accents, especially on the vintage Coach. Beautiful, smooth zipper. This is basically perfection in a crossbody. I went out for one of my best friend's birthdays. We just went out and had a girls' day. And I wanted to take something that made me feel stylish, but wasn't a handbag, shoulder bag, because we were mainly going out to do some shopping and I don't want to be dealing with all my digging through everything. And it's just, again, a shining example of perfection. It's just a nice piece of leather, just a nice big old bucket of leather. And I can tell you from the label in here, this was made in 1992, which just, if that doesn't, I mean, you see the luster, the smell, the love, just again, when I started in my fashion era and really acquiring handbags as accessories and statement pieces and staples in my wardrobe, Never was really much of a Coach person until I discovered a lot of their vintage designs. And since then, and discovering that level of quality for what I can purchase them for secondhand, although buying vintage Coach can get kind of hairy price point wise buying secondhand, but that's a whole nuanced conversation for a different video. But it holds my cell phone, my wallet, a bag for cosmetics. It's got this nice little pocket here. They look so nice. They're so functional. I love matching my handbag to my shoes 1,000 times yes, and a bag that I was pretty sure I knew I loved, but I was just like, I gotta have a crossbody. I really appreciate the practicality. While I typically prefer hand and shoulder bags, I do not underestimate the power of a stylish, high quality crossbody. We've had a real positive run so far, so we might as well talk about one that didn't wow me so much, didn't make me feel like, ooh, this adds so much ease in my day-to-day as a handbag, which is a little bit sad because, anything when you start wearing it and you're like, yeah, it's not as fantastical as I thought. This is a vintage Dooney and Bourke. I have no idea what it's called or when it's from. This was sort of my answer to not being able to purchase firsthand or finding it secondhand in a non-exorbitant, overpriced, overgouged amount of money for the Coach Swing Zip, which is still on a major handbag wish list hunt for either new secondhand or a true vintage version. Firstly, I'm not a fan of how this seaming with the piping here and the boning makes it do this weird puckered thing. I don't know if there's a way to kind of press that out or make it have a better natural shape, but also just while it holds a good amount and it sits nice on the shoulder, and I do like it in the elbow too, with the way the zipper is, kind of like the Vivian Westwood one, with how it cuts off on the edges, it makes it not as pleasant of an experience to just go digging around in it. But for this being a bag solution to a bag that I didn't get, I was like, okay, this will scratch that itch. This will give me the look for this less, because this one was like $35 on Mercari, which it is a really nice, beautiful, wonderfully constructed pebbled leather bag. Dooney and Bourke vintage, as well as a lot of their contemporary stuff, is really lovely, wonderful quality, but this one just didn't do as much for me in practical application that I feel like it does aesthetic wise. And it wasn't a crazy expensive purchase, but as someone who is really trying to hone in on spending less and spending on what is going to be used right out of the gate for me and has that element of style and fashion while also being practical, it is a bit of a bummer when all of those things don't line up in the way that I would like them to accommodate my lifestyle. Then we have one that was probably one of my earlier purchases when it came to getting into, like, dipping my toes into designer bags and luxury bags and having it bags. I really, really wanted to get into the Prada, is it Tessuto nylon? Not entirely sure. I know that Prada got their start making bougie windbreakers, but it's a real big thing. It's a fashion thing. It's a big fucking deal for some reason because it's nylon. It's designer nylon. And I don't care how many times anyone's gonna be, oh, well, it's the best nylon that ever existed. I don't care if it's the best nylon that ever existed. You seen those teeny weeny little pochette, little kind of droopy triangular bags, and they hold their value at like $2,000. I'm like, there is no nylon that is made up out of this small of a bag that makes it worth $2,000. So this one was probably around like the $200, $225, pretty had a fair amount of wear to it when I got it. You can see some staining there. The hardware has a pretty significant amount of tarnishing. We've got glazing that's cracked off and broken here. It's sturdy. The bones are all there. I love the color. And I pulled this out because it was a case of you bought it, you have it, you need to use it. And again, I was so just minding my own damn business and pulled this one out to use it. And it has had such a wonderful, utilitarian, purposeful, just, I didn't carry it a lot on the, while it does look nice on the elbow, I was swinging this bad boy like a crossbody. And this worked so great as an everyday hauling my shit to work bag. It's got nice pebbled leather there, the studs. It's got, love the thick chunky zipper. It opens, holds a lot. This is another bag, and I understand that it looks pretty big. It's definitely a medium large, but just the amount of shit I was able to haul around this thing impressed me every day. I love the little detail here, this card, the buckle details here. There was actually someone who posted in the handbag Reddit subreddit that I'm a part of, and they had seen someone with this bag in black, and they're like, oh, what's the name of this bag? And I was like, hey, I have that one. I didn't even know it had a name. I just got it secondhand on Mercari because I liked it. And I definitely do like this one. I've had a couple different Prada nylon bags that I have brought in and then rotated out of my collection, selling to secondhand stores and consignment places. But this one really became a shining example of why you should use your handbags, use what you have to really figure out what works in your lifestyle. I wouldn't be running out to purchase this in another color or purchase something similar because I like it so much. I'm just really pleased with how it's turned out in my handbag rotation and how much I do like it, and the style and practicality that it's brought to my everyday life. It just works great like that. It works great like this. It's just, not only that, you can have you're holding the strap with the handles and you're looking extra bougie and 1%y. Was simply really chuffed and really pleased with how this one integrated itself into my day-to-day. Then just briefly, I wanted to touch on this one here. Only briefly because starting out, I specifically pulled this one out for the rotation to use it as a way to carry. I've got my calendar, my journal, paperwork, sticky notes, book that I'm reading, basically just all of my utilitarian paperwork and notebooks and stuff that I need for doing YouTube and day-to-day scheduling, budgeting. And it has stood up really well considering how heavy this stuff gets, and I've really enjoyed it for that. The handles are super sturdy. It looks real good on the elbow. It works real great as a handbag as well. Not, you can like kind of maybe have it like this, but it doesn't sit too comfortably. The handles are real nice, real stiff. This is another item that I'm pretty sure is true vintage. And so starting out, I was just like, mustn't beat it around the bush too much. But it's just really sucked it up and really gone well with it. But as much as I've been using it as a bag for the heavier things, I want to now take it, pull all that stuff out and just carry it as a day-to-day bag with just, you know, my makeup, my wallet and everything like that, to see how it functions in that way versus just being basically a book bag. I like it as the book bag. It's turned out well as the book bag, but I do look forward to seeing how it would be just on a day-to-day basis. I love the 3D emblem and just the color and all the details. I wax eloquent in that Vivienne Westwood bag collection video, and it's real nice to have something that's a real piece of fashion history while it also serving that practical application that I need it to. All right, folks, and there you have it, another round of handbag rotation. I really enjoy getting the opportunity to talk about all the various bags in my collection, just being able to highlight things in ways more than just reviews. Because like I said, handbags are my shit. Handbags are my thing. They really just, they do an outfit good. Bags and shoes. That's the shit that does it for me. If you made it this far, give yourself a giant gold fucking star. You deserve it for listening to me babble on and on and on and on about handbags for over a half hour. But thank you all so much for watching. I love you. And as always, keep it real. Mwah.